Hello, I'm here today with Bud Rosenberger of BudBuilt, and we're going to do a walk around of my 2019 4Runner with the SAS swap. Bud, what have we done to the 4Runner so far?
We trimmed a few things and we put a little bigger tires on it, and we put something on the engine that made it go but other than that, pretty much stock.
Yes, pretty much stock. As you can see, we no longer have the stock IFS. We have 4-link suspension up front and 4-link suspension in the back, which I'll show you a little bit later. We have used the wide open design aluminum links on the bottom and the top, which are amazing. They can bend and come back without breaking. We then have the crane axles, 14 bolt front and back, shaved to 13 bolt, with ARB air lockers in the front and back. We have, what axles do we have in the front? RCV, 40 spline inners, 47 spline outers, the smallest we could find. We also have 40 spline axle shafts in the back. Running some Raceline wheels, 17-inch if I remember right, with 43-inch by 1450 Mickey Thompson sticky tires, which are just flat out amazing. Other than that, yeah, like Bud said, we did a little bit of cutting underneath, front and back. The frame has been plated, in the front and the rear. I believe we only left one stock cross member, which made the frame a little flexy while building. And we have since added back in 3 or 4 cross members, both in the front all the way to the back. The stock gas tank, of course, had to be removed when we put in the 4-link in the back, and we're now utilizing a new 1968 Chevy gas tank, 18 and a half gallons, which sits just behind or inside the rear bumper. At this point, we are still utilizing the bumpers I had with the vehicle before, which is the LFD bumper in the back and the ARB bumper in the front. Both have been trimmed accordingly to fit these small tires, which is a story in itself as to why we have these larger tires versus the original ones we've ordered. So how about we get a little closer and look at some of the details. Now, moving to the engine bay, you can see that we've done a wee bit of work. Starting from the front right, driver's side, you see that the stock fuse box has been relocated because it would not work with the shock tower, which is there. We have 16-inch Radflo coilovers, dual rate. You see we have the tie-in for the 2 shock mounts there. In the back I have my S-Pod, which is quite mundane. What you do not see anywhere under the hood are the batteries. The batteries have been relocated just behind the rear seat. Here is the star under the hood, which is of course the monstrous supercharger from Whipple, which is supplied by URD. Also under the hood, moving over to this side, which is what this blue hose is for, is our full hydraulic steering, which comes from HAL Performance in California. This is the reservoir. I have my inverted oil filter here. You have the cooler there for the steering. Also have a really nice washer bottle. Stock one was removed. Found this one from somebody online. Have the ARB compressor. Here we have another component for the steering. Moving down for the steering, coming underneath, here is the dual ram. We have the crash bar in the front to protect the radiator. From the ram we have our 2 links, which goes to these massive magnum knuckles, and you see the boot for the RCV there. So going around, we have the upper crash bar for the radiator, lower crash bar in 2 sections so it can be removed, here and here to access the ram there. Again, the other RCV bell there. Do have a 12,000 pound Warn winch shoved up inside the ARB. Lots of stories about this winch from the past few weeks, but again, that's a different video. Now, coming to the underside of the vehicle. We'll look at the front first. Here you can see the 2 1/4, I believe they are, lower links, and then the upper link is the black one right there. You see the diff guard, or not the diff guard, the U-joint protector.
Pinion guard.
Pinion
Yeah.
guard, excuse me, pinion guard,
Yes.
goodness. Then the new piece which has been added is this masterpiece here in the middle. This is the skid plate which protects the Atlas, as well as gives me a sliding point underneath with as close to a flat belly as is possible, given the rotation that we've done with the Atlas. Also, now the lower link, lower link, excuse me, protection guards with this very long angle, which allows us to slide much nicer versus having what is your typical short and high pitched angle on the guard. That was what we did originally, and it was proven to show a weak link where we were getting caught up on a lot of rocks. Drive shaft here, of course, we're using 1410s on the whole thing. The front drive shaft is there in the middle of the links. Here we have a 2-piece front drive shaft due to packaging issues. Something else I want to show you on the front that we were able to do. Here's the rear drive shaft. This is 188 wall tubing. We have the upper links on top, the same pinion guard. We have 14-inch wildwood brakes, which are a bit tight inside the wheels. I do want to go back to the front. I'll back up to get a better view for you. I want to show you what we did with the oil pickup, which of course, since we raised the engine about 2.5 inches, remanufactured new motor mounts. Here we go. This is what I wanted to show you right here. This is where the oil pickup normally is, not the pickup,
Filter.
the oil filter, excuse me, is housed here. So we took it off, had a new plate machined, which is here, utilized the stock mounting locations, and ran these hoses up to my filter, which you saw on top in the engine bay. So here we save some space for other packaging issues for the diff going up and down, right? It's because the top of the diff is right here. So you can see we don't have a lot of space. I don't remember, Bud, can you remind me, what do we have for up travel and droop?
So straight up travel about 4.5 or 5 inches, and then we can articulate really well on that. Droop, we go down about 8 or 9, I think.
I think we're around, yeah, around there. Total vehicle weight right now is, oh gosh, around 7,100 pounds. We recently added a cage on the inside. Let me get the door here. So here you see the cage, which is from the B pillar back to the C pillar and ties in, I'll show you from the back here in a moment, on top of the shock mounts for the back. We do have 2 harnesses for the 2 front drivers attached to the bar there in the back. Now moving to the trunk area. You can get a better picture of the cage in here. You can see it ties into the top of the shock hoop there and there. These are the reservoirs for the rear shocks. I do have a drawer system in here from air down, gear up. The red, beautiful red pieces on top are there to hold in my refrigerator that I carry in here, do like some creature comforts. Also have the orange box moly panels in here to keep some stuff out of the drawers. The drawers are primarily holding recovery gear over here, liquids and some more recovery gear here. I do keep some engine oil there and coolant over here. I think that's about all we can say from here. I'll give you a good view of the gas tank from here. So there's the gas tank. The muffler, if I remember, came from an FJ. So a several-year-old FJ. Muffler is right there. All of the tubing is of course custom made. Now goes up and over the rear axle. Sounds very good. You can hear the sound of that in some later videos. Now, panning back to the front, you see it here. Now going back to the cleaner side of the front, here you can see how we packaged the reservoir. Here you can see the shock going through in the shock tower. This filter here is the bottom filter for the reservoir of the steering. Then, see if I can show you here, the rear shock towers were Frenched into the frame. You see that here going up and coming into the frame. Had to push it back, again, packaging issues that we had. Naturally, like we had a lot of them trying to fit these monstrous tires in here. The sliders, I did not talk about those on the other side. The sliders are BudBuilt sliders. Again, 188 wall kickers. They worked better as kickers when I had 34-inch tires than they do now with 43-inch tires, but they still do work and serve their purpose. Here we have our first trail damage, which was occurred on Whitetail Trail in Black Rock in Harlan, Kentucky 2 weeks ago. Surely not the first, no, surely not the last, but was the first and was a very eventful trail for us. So there's my rig. We will be out this week at the Texas Jamboree in Gilmer. Hope to see some of you guys there.